I'm Craig Pretzinger.
And I'm Jason Feldman.
We're just a couple of insurance dudes.
So passionate about telemarketing tele-funnels.
We've hacked the mechanics of top agents' tele-funnels.
You'll see behind the scenes of
how you can sell more,
save time,
reduce the cost of your leads,
and produce predictable results every single day.
Let's get it on. Woo! Boom!
Hey, welcome.
It's hey, my favorite tele-dude. How you doing?
Good. How you doing, my man?
Good. This is fun doing this little series here.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
everybody always asks what, does this work, right? Does this whole concept of tele-funnels, and I don't know if it'll work for me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Everybody asks, well, I don't know if it'll work for me. What would you say about that?
It starts with believers. It begins with believers, right? If you believe that it will work and you put in the time and the commitment and you go all in, it will work 100%. Right. I was on the fence a little bit at the beginning, was questioning it. And then I started thinking like, well, I mean, what else is there really? At the end of the day, what can you do besides buy leads and make dials, right? And call them and create a funnel. Like that's the system. Like in any business, really, at the end of the day, there's a whole lot of people that you're going after, and you're going to take a certain amount to the next step in the process, and the next, and then they're sold. And that's the way it works.
Yeah. And definitely with insurance, it needs to be sold. Well, some insurance needs to be sold over the phone for the most part. So yeah, I will say for everybody that it's worked out for, like that have set up a system like this, it's also like they had 100% faith that they can do it.
Yeah.
And I think that just goes in general. Like there's never been one thing that I've tried where I've dipped my toe in, kind of pulled it out and said, yeah, this is okay. This is going to work. And it worked.
Yeah.
Like,
it didn't blow up.
All in.
Half committed. Like,
yeah,
it may work.
Yeah.
No, you've got to buy in, right? And if you as the owner, if you're not believing in this thing 100% and you're not convicted with it, because there's always some resistance with change, right? Anytime change happens, there's that resistance that, oh, what's this, right? This is weird. And then especially for the team. And if your business is anything like my business has been over the years, then, you change stuff, you tell your team, they're like, like after a while, they're like, oh, okay, another new thing. And so it really has to be entire all in. And it did. I think that my team, like I saw you and what you were doing, and it really, I believed because of that. Right. So I was able to dive in 100% committed, and I had to sell the team on it because they were, again, like, oh, here we go again, another new thing. But I really stayed after it and was consistent. And eventually it got to, it's like the 21 days to create a habit. Like eventually we got to that point where they're like, holy crap, he's not changing from this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is true. And your team has to believe. Your team has to. So, we talk about this. You and I have talked about this a million times, but you got to at least have that one person. You got to convince the one person to really crush it so that everybody can see, oh my gosh, it's working for Sam. Like we can do this. Like they needed the we can do this too kind of thing.
Sure.
And they need to see it. So you got to have somebody have that success.
Yeah.
And you got to convince them, but find the one person that might be the easiest to convince, that will have the most results. Really lean into them and have them believe and get them results.
Did you just say lean in? Did you just say lean in?
I'm sorry.
I saw you smile after you said it. You're like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's true, right? Like that's a huge helper, because we're the leader. And I think that, I think my team likes me. I think my team trusts me and believes in me, but I'm still kind of like dad, and you listen to your parents, but with a grain of salt. So when it's one of their peers is also bought in. So it's find that one that really knocks it out of the park. And if you don't have somebody that stands out above everybody else, got to find somebody, because that person is critical. And mine came along a little bit after we started, and that was the catalyst. Like that one that I brought in that came from a different team that, she wasn't really appreciated there. And, she freaking lit it up. Like she did her first month, she did almost double of the previous top producer. And then it was like, okay, this is the one. This is the one Jason's been talking about, and it brought everybody's game up. Everybody's game. Because
it's like the dude with the 4 minute mile, right?
Yeah.
Like they always try to crush that 4 minute mile. And then once he did it, all of a sudden there was somebody else that did it like within the next year, I think it was.
It was pretty quick.
Then there's been,
And now they're chasing the 1 minute mile, right? Oh
yeah.
No, I know. Just kidding.
Yeah. The 1 minute. No,
you need a car for that one. But
you see it in sports all the time. Like look at, my mom was in the Junior Olympics for gymnastics. Yeah. So I've always watched, she always watches the Olympics, but it's crazy. Like watching gymnastics for the Olympics from when I was young, even snowboarding, cause I used to snowboard a lot, and watching the Olympics with these events, it's like every year they become like, they're like bionic now. Like if you would have shown the Olympics of the last Olympics 40 years ago, they would have been like, oh my God. I mean, everybody, if you take that one snowboarder, bring him back to the first time they allowed snowboarding into the Olympics, that guy would have won. You know what I mean? Or anybody doing anything in the Olympics at the level that it's at today, back then, they would have succeeded and they would have won the gold, because it took all these people to get over that point so that the next person can believe and then take it to the next point.
Right.
It's crazy.
That's it. It's just the power of the mind. If you believe it, if you believe that you can do it, you're going to get it done. Right. If you believe that you can't do it, I mean, if there's something that somebody is accomplishing, it can be done.
Right.
And so it's like, you can't sit here and say, oh, I'm going to, pick that building up. Okay, well, come on, but if it's something that somebody is already accomplishing, like I looked at you and I said, okay, this guy, my buddy, is writing $250,000 a month. Obviously it can be done, right? Like you're not magic. You put together a system, and then I'm like, okay, well, he's told me exactly how to do it. And I'm going, but I only have written 75 or whatever it was. It just seemed so far off. But then putting in that grind, doing it every day, and then getting to 100, then getting to 120, then getting to 150. It was like, wait a minute. Well, we really can do this, And then now this month is I think this month is the 250. But it took a year, but 250, I mean, it's insane. And then it'll be 300, and then it'll be 350, then 400. Right. It's just there is really no limit once you have the predictability and the ability to scale. And
I think, and with us, it's like we are on this journey. So it's easy, like as we climb and we hit these epiphanies and we hit these levels, right? It makes it easier for us to believe. But I think a lot of times we forget to, like, our team doesn't see all this work and stuff. They don't see what we see. So we have to really put ourselves in their shoes and like, how can we make them believe? How can we have them come to the conclusion? Because you can't just tell them, because that doesn't actually show somebody like anything. So they have to come to the realization. So how do we get them to that realization? And if we can do that, if you can convince, even that one person in your team to crush it, doing something like the new process, then that is a huge success. And there will be the ongoing effect of that.
Yeah, for sure. back to that coaching
Yeah.
thing, right? You're the coach. It's your responsibility to get the best out of your team.
Yep.
And I think the onus also taking responsibility, taking the responsibility of if it doesn't work, it's on me or it's on you as the agent, right? Like you got to have that. It's not them.
Yeah.
If they're not doing it, then something wasn't communicated. Some expectation wasn't passed out. Something isn't clear because they're not here just to deceive you and steal money. Like, and if that's the case, then guess who hired them? Right? Like, let's dig deep. I mean, at the end of the day, this is my business and I'm accountable for its success or failure. I also like want to create as much of a autopilot situation as possible, but there's no true autopilot unless you got, you know, $150,000 a year person running it for you. Right. And that's, I guess, everybody's aspiration, I would hope. But, yeah, people, you got to have the processes, you got to put the right people in place. But at the end of the day, it's on you. If it's not working, it's, you know, or on me, right. Or on Jason. If it's not working at your agency, there is something that's not done right. Whether it's the wrong people, whether it's the wrong process, whether it's that, and that's kind of harsh, right? It's tough to do that. But when you can accept responsibility for your actions, then imagine what a great world it would be, right? If everybody would just accept responsibility. So like there's a couple of, or a few things that you can do, right? A few of the like speeches that you can have at the beginning. You want to go through that? Go through a couple or?
Yeah. And I think we touched on those a little bit the last time, but yeah, you know, making them believe, letting them know what kind of investment that you're making in them, letting them know like how much you're all in, really helps convince them. And then I think the second part to that is, having those meetings, right? That'll be the next thing. Maybe we'll get a little bit more granular in the next one, but meetings are everything. Like how do you persuade a team? You know, well, I know how coaches do it. I mean, we see it every day. You see, you know, winning sports teams all the time. They all have that coach behind them. They're meeting, they're running plays, they're meeting in the off season, getting ready for the season, right?
Yeah.
And they're
watching
just
the tape, breaking it down
constantly. And the only way they're doing that, could you imagine a sports team? Is there any sports team that could work with, or that could win anything without a coach?
No, it would be pretty tough because
so I mean, that's a role,
right? Yeah.
Yep.
The coach has the vision, they lay it down, and then the team executes, right? And then they revisit and look at the results against the benchmark. And is it there? No. Okay. Well, what do we need to do to improve? Do we need to change the process? Maybe. But you know, a lot of times we're sitting here constantly changing processes instead of putting the process down and then going with it and then fine tuning, right? You don't need to reinvent the wheel every week.
No.
Right. And in fact, there's so many ways to do it. Pick it, run it. Right.
Yep.
You pick that offensive strategy and keep running. So,
but you got to have the meetings in order to get to that point. Like you can't just, it needs to be a group meeting too. You need to put everybody on the same team. Like you need the camaraderie. Like there's so much residual effects from that team meeting. That's awesome. That people always say, oh, well, what about the time? Like they could be selling during that time. Well, if they're 20% more effective for those 8 hours, if you have a 1 hour meeting, but they're 20% effective for the rest of the 7 hours, then that's incredible. You're almost getting the value of another person, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's nothing more valuable, I think, than to have meetings.
The difference between having my business with no meetings, which was at one point there were never meetings, you know,
right.
Then monthly, and then maybe, you know, but then now daily, like it is daily. Like there is not a day where there's not a meeting. And it's not 100%. Like just fluff, it's practice, you know, and we have a pretty good structure now, and they know, like they expect it, and they'll bring a call. They'll go, you know, man, I thought I was going to get this one. It was a big one. I'm bummed. And then, you know, I had the sales manager even try to close it, couldn't get through it. You know, let's break it down. And you may find something that happened earlier in the conversation that totally got missed, that set that call up to not quite be where it needed to be, where it probably had a greater likelihood of closing. But you can get really, really, really down into the weeds of the call and you know, and figure stuff out. And when the team hears these things, and it is so powerful to hear it, you know, even if the person that you're critiquing is uncomfortable, it doesn't matter. Like uncomfortable creates that breakthrough, you know?
Right.
For all of us. Well, I mean,
sales is uncomfortable. So you gotta, if you want to practice it, get uncomfortable.
Right. All day.
Well, let's go. The next one, let's dive in. You have some pretty cool strategies on meetings. Because I think one of the most difficult things is the first meeting that I had was like, what's the structure? How do you start that? It can be intimidating at first. So I think we should dive a little bit more into that next time.
Yeah, let's do it. Well, Mr. Jason, I had a great time talking about this, and I'm grateful to be able to deliver this message, because I think that a lot of people can benefit from this.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So,
yep.
All right.
And if you want to know more about telemarketing, you could use a telemarketer in your agency, but like you want a whole system, you want to crush it, go to live.teledudes.com, and we do a weekly webinar. Ooh. And you can learn a lot more about implementing in your own agency.
Awesome.
Crushing it.
Can I go to that, Mr. Jason?
Yes. live.teledudes.com.
Do you want to go to it?
I will go to it.
It's live.teledudes.com.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's right.
Sounds good. I'll see you on the Flippity
All
Flip.
right.
Or I'll see you at the live.teledudes.com on Tuesday, 10 a.m.
Love
Pacific.
It.
Yeah. See ya.
Sounds good.
Hey, Jason.
Yes, Mr. Craig.
That was another awesome episode, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, if people want to get a little bit more action and learn how to do write 100,000 in premium off of even the worst internet leads, where could they go?
They can go to live.teledudes.com.
Ooh, that sounds exciting. Are we going to be there?
Yes. It's a weekly call that we're doing right now. It's live, and it will show you the process. The entire process is super awesome.
I love it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Sign up right now, live.teledudes.com.
Live.teledudes.com. That's live.teledudes.com.
Hey, Craig, there's a new community that we are starting that I cannot wait to tell everybody about. It is our live texting community where you and I are going to answer people's questions and give them free content, right?
Are you kidding me? We get to talk to them?
Yeah, which is awesome, but they have to opt in. They have to text us at 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
Nice.
Craig, are you going to respond to these texts?
I'm going to respond to them for sure. Live.
I'm into it too. It's going to be awesome. And it's going to be our new texting community where we're going to get back to everybody that we can and drop some crazy content, free content, and free the calculator that you just came up with. That's right. The calling calculator, sales material. I mean, everything for insurance agents. This is it. It's the best texting community out there for insurance agents.
Well, what the heck is that number again? I can't remember it.
It's 520-214-2219. That's 520-214-2219.
I love it. I'm going to text it right now.
520-214-2219.
All right. I'll see you later, Mr. Jason.
Bye, Mr. Craig.
Wait, do they even listen to this on the radio anymore?
I love it. I love it.
Nice.